Hello everyone, welcome to THLGK. Today won't be a depressive episode. I mean, the last two episodes were quite depressive, at least they ended on a quite depressive note. But today, we are talking about shield narratives. And everything's a manipulation tool, isn't it? I was about to say, and how they are used to manipulate us. And then I remember, whoa, the title of the episode isn't manipulation to shield narratives, just shield narratives. But, well, again, it's religion we're talking about. If I'm right, and they're all dishonest, deceitful, lying pieces of trash, then everything they do is in relation to this. Not everything, I'm being hyperbolic here, but you get the idea. So let's go. Let's talk today about shield narratives.
What are shield narratives? This is something I find easy to define, but a bit hard to explain. And believe me, there were attempts to do it. Anyway, the definition of shield narratives is what I call narratives that are created to, as the name suggests, shield something, protect something. In the religious context, it could be a historical narrative. It could be protecting a historical narrative. It could be protecting a theological construct, or, in many cases, protecting the holy text itself. In a Judaism and Christianity context, which is usually what I talk about, a shield narrative protect the text from us. What do I mean by that? Look, you have the Bible. It's a sacred text. You actually have translations of the Bible. We'll talk about that in a bit. But anyway, you open a Bible. You are going to read a text. Most people, especially if they are brought up within Christianity or if they converted to Christianity. The point is, if they are educated, and that's not a word I like to use, I much rather use indoctrinated within the Christian or Jewish narratives. Most people do not read the Bible. Most people read what they are told about the Bible. These are the shield narratives. So, our religion, and you have to think specifically, Catholicism, Lutheranism, Anglicanism, Presbyterianism, and so on, they all create their own shield narratives. These are what doctrines are for, right? The doctrines end up influencing the narratives themselves. And then they tell the people that subscribe to these groups what the Bible is saying. So if the person decides to go home, open the Bible and read the text, it's an incredible effect. They read what they are told. They read what their religion, what their institution told them the text is telling. They don't read the text themselves. How can I claim that? Simple. Because if they were to read the text itself, they would pick it up, toss it in the bin, pour something in it, and light it on fire. Because this holy text, the Bible especially, because it's what we're talking about, they are incredibly disgusting. Don't get me wrong, I love it. Read it for historical value, read it for to understand how people 2,500 years ago they thought. I find it extremely interesting. What I mean is, reading it as moral guidelines for today, reading it to know what God wants for you today, this is what they are worthless. It's a pretty big claim, isn't it? I know, I recognize it. But still, I think it's true. Because, let me give you an example. Right, in the Old Testament, you have the narrative of the Ten Commandments. Look, I'm not even reading the narrative to you. I'm telling you what's happening. Be careful, if you find it curious, not to go and read the way I'm telling. Go and put everything aside and try reading it with fresh eyes. But here's what it is. You have the narrative of the Ten Commandments. God's giving the people, his people, the 10 most important commandments they should live by. They are most important. Why? Because God wrote them himself. That's how it goes. You turn the page. In some Bibles, the same page. But usually you just have to turn the page. And then you have the institutionalization of slavery between the people. So this is not slavery to foreign peoples. No, this is a different form. Here you have slavery from within their own people. You have the rules of how you can own slaves, or in this case how they could own slaves of their own people. And then you continue the narrative with Moses going up the mountain and God speaking to God. So this was sanctioned by God. You have slavery of their own people. Again, this is not white slavering blacks or blacks slavering whites. Slaving, is that a word? But you get the idea. This is a people, a nation, enslaving their own citizens. So, people within the nation enslaving fellow citizens, fellow members of their own nation. And God is condoning it all. How many people can accept that today? Some like it, the idea. But a lot of us cannot stand it. Can you imagine going to a church and you hear the pastor, the priest, the bishop telling you we should own slaves of our own people? Or God allows you get out and you never come back. At least most people do. So, again, why don't people, when reading the Bible, this is one example. If you open the Bible, you see thousands and thousands of them, Old Testament and New. So why don't people pick this book, throw it in the trash and light it on fire? Because they are not reading it. they are not reading the text. They read the shield narratives. They read the constructs, their religions, their institutions made up that tries to protect the text from us, try to protect the text from us accessing and realizing all this that I just told you. So if there is a Christian or a Jew listening to this, they're probably shaking their head saying, no, I don't know what if they are saying, they will say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Completely expected, because they don't read the text. Using the same example, you will hear things such as, oh look, here's the thing, everyone around, every people, every nation around engaged in slavery, so it's a cultural thing. That's why it was allowed at the time. This is a shield narrative. So someone who's trying to find a solution to what the text is telling them, but they don't have the courage to go and burn the thing, they go, oh yes, look, it's a cultural thing, you know, it's cultural, it's a product of the time. Yes, that's what it is, it's cultural. And they repeat it, it's a mantra. They keep repeating, they keep telling that that's what the sliver of hope they have to make the text acceptable. And you find that again throughout not only the Bible but the religions as a whole. If you watched the video, you shouldn't make content in which I give a commentary on some comments that were left in one of my videos. You will see, for instance, that I say that there is a part there that they will say, for instance, that I say that religion is social control. And their reply is, no, religion is not social control. Some people use religion as social control. This is a shield narrative. Or you hear, no, the Bible doesn't mean that there are lies in the Bible. I'm paraphrasing. You have midrash, an enlargement of a story. I mean, okay, what enlarging a story is? As far as I know, it's a lie. But no, it's a midrash. It's a shield. Again, it's a shield narrative. All these constructs, they try to make us not read nor access the text itself. They create a shield between us and the text. They protect the text from us because they know if we were to access the text, and here we are talking about translations, a lot of people would simply leave. So most people, they repeat what they are told. So for instance, let me give you another example. In the New Testament, if you read God is love, and they read the entire New Testament with the idea that God is love. It's a shield narrative. God is love. And they even justify hell as being a part of God's love. This is the power of a manipulation tool. Yeah, I didn't want to use manipulation tool, but It's inevitable. Of course it is. It's religion. Again, what can I tell? This is it. It's not exclusively the Old Testament, the New Testament as well. Oh, God is love. God loves you. God loves you unconditionally. But if you don't do what He says, He still loves you, but He's going to send you to spend eternity in hell, suffering, because you didn't want to listen what He said. Yeah, but He loves you. He loves you completely. It's like, come on. What the heck is this? Yes, this is the power of a shield narrative. Here we need to make a brief how can I say this? We need to step back. That's good enough. We need to step back a little and talk about the holy text itself. Look, we don't have, and I mean none of us, none of them, none of humanity, which is how usually we, anyway, we don't have the originals. Yep, gone, probably lost forever. The most we have are approximations of the originals that 99% of us don't read. Why? Because we don't read Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, not even modern Hebrew. We don't read ancient Hebrew. We don't read ancient Greek. Mine are rusted as heck, so I'm putting myself in the group. We don't read it. And they are lucky for it. They are ecstatic. They have orgasms knowing that we don't read it. Because if we were to read what we have today, which remember is not the original, is what they attempt to approximate to the original. If we were to read that, religion would be over. Yes, Judaism and Christianity, if we were to read the approximation of the original in the original language, it would be over. Because here's what most people don't know. These approximations, they are very I should say they are highly specialized texts. They are usually used in academia. One such example is the Stuttgartensia Bible for the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, and Nestle Aland for the New Testament, or the Novum Testamentum Greece, I believe, something like that. Also for the New Testament. Those texts, what they do is, in simple terms, right? They go at the manuscripts, everything that we have access today, that we have found to this day, and they try to build what would be the closest to the original we could have. So, and they have many criteria for that. Older manuscripts usually have preference. And just an example, right? And there are many other criteria. So they start building it. But here is the thing. They use scientific methodology. So when they present a text, if you were to pick one of these three books I mentioned, you would see that they would present the text in Hebrew or Greeks. And then there might be a word. And they will have a lot of information that basically say, oh, this word is not present in these manuscripts. This word is not present in these manuscripts. This word, or this phrase, or this verse was added in this manuscript. And then they go showing those things, showing mistakes, showing additions, showing additions, reductions, let's say. So if you were to read these approximations of the original, you would learn that all these things are constructs. These are not stories that were revealed by God. These are not divinely inspired stories. No, these are human stories. Let's take the story of the slavery, for instance. You learn that the Ten Commandments, the slavery, this is the higher class controlling people. They wanted to own slaves. They wanted to own slaves for their own people. So they put it in there. So this ends God. But again, most people don't do it. Most people rely on translations. And translations tend to be really bad. Because, look, I don't know if it's if you could accuse them of being intentional or if it's something unintentional. But let me give you an example. Today we are monotheistic and monolatric. And by we, I mean they. Wow. So, they believe one God and they worship one God. But in the time the Torah was written, they were polytheistic, so they believed in multiple gods, but they're transitioning from polylatric, from worshipping multiple gods, to monolatric, to worship only one God. This you can find in the Torah. It's easily found in the original, or the approximation of the original. But usually when they translate the Bible, you have a monotheistic ideological hand going through it. It's like, well, there is only one God, so all these things about other gods being real, all these implications that they are real, they remove it. They hide it. Let me give you, again, I will give you an example. The goddess Asherah, I already mentioned her. She was the wife of God, of our God, the God of today, right? I was religious, so I still use these things. Give me a break. So there are some translations where you have Asherah and they replace it for another term. Right? Let me bring you something here. Here, let me show you. You see, this is Asherah, the goddess that was married to Yahweh. So, in Hebrew, in the close to original, it appears her name, Asherah, just like here. But you see translations such as groves or sacred poles or wooden pole or a tree. Right? You see, it's her name. Yes, those things might refer to her objects of worship, but that's her name. And they translate it to something else. So when you read the Bible, right, the translation is already a shield narrative itself. Because you are not reading here, you are not reading the name Asherah. Because it's a... Imagine if you were, what the heck means Asherah? Let me go look it up. Oh, Asherah is a goddess. Oh, Asherah was married to God. Oh, too many questions. Now, is this conscious? Is the question I ask, or is not? Is it because they were ideologically, the translators, right, monotheistic, that they, when they saw Asherah, they translated to something else? It's difficult to know. It's difficult to make a determination, but it's what we have. So when you read your translation, again, you might be reading groves, you might be reading sacred poles, you might be reading here, if you are watching, wooden pole or tree, because these were the representations of her, of the goddess. And you already missing this polytheistic element in which the Bible was written. Again, they did not allow the worship in Asherah at the time it was written, but the worship of Asherah still existed among the people, and they believed she was real. They believed she was a real deity, a real goddess. But even so, again, even if you put all that aside, if you remove that, doesn't matter. They still need to create shield narratives to protect the translations. They still need to protect the translations from us. They still need to manipulate people into reading something that's not written. That is not what the text says, because what the text says is bad enough for the doctrines, for our morality, for the way we see the world, you name it. Let me try again and sum all this up. Shield narratives are narratives constructed to protect something. And in the religious context, they usually protect the text, the holy text, from us. Because if we are to really read a holy text, the chance to throw it out and burn it is high. So they need to create these narratives. But the thing is, and it's what I always say, because religion isn't honest, because it deals with manipulation, because it deals with deceit and lies, these narratives are weak. So usually you don't see one shield narrative, you see multiple of them. And I'm talking within the same religion, right? If we're going to analyze a text through the eyes of different religions, then you're going to realize pretty quickly what I'm talking about. It gets pretty clear the differences, because you have shield narratives that protect the text from the Catholic. It's not from. What's the right word here? It protects, for instance, the Catholic doctrine from the text. See, the text is telling something that goes against what the Catholic doctrine says. So they create a shield narrative and they place it on top of the text. And in this case, they are not protecting the text itself, they are protecting the doctrine. So when a person goes and reads the text, instead of reading what the text is telling them, which will contradict the doctrine and will destroy the doctrine, they read what the shield narrative says. One of the classic examples is Mary. Mary is a virgin. Mary lived and died as a virgin. If you read the Bible, you see that's not true. Again, in the narrative of the Bible, okay? Mary existed, we don't know. We don't even know if Jesus existed, so. But you have text in the Bible that says that Mary had other children. One of the disciples was called James, brother of the Lord. That's what he was called. So they had no problem with Mary not being a virgin, but the Catholic theology does. So what they do, they create two narratives. No, the Bible doesn't say they are brothers, it says they are cousins. No, it says brothers, but okay. Or you have even other absurdities, such as, they are brothers from when Joseph was first married, because Mary is the second wife of Joseph, and they create whatever narrative they want. This is what shield narratives are. So in this case, you see, who cares if Mary had children? What does that interfere with the belief in God, with the belief in Jesus? It doesn't. But for the Catholics, who place Mary as a divine being, basically, we'll get to that eventually, they can't have that. They can't have Mary having other children, so they create shield narratives to protect it. As I said, the shield narratives protecting theological constructs. But usually, you protect the text from us. You try to prevent us from reading what the text is telling us. That's why you hear these absurdities today. There are many different interpretations. No, there aren't. No, there are many different interpretations. The text is telling something. What is the text is telling us? What you have are many different shield narratives that try to give the text something that it does not say. But most people operate within the shield narratives. This is something we'll be watching a lot when talking and commenting religion. So I hope I was able to explain what these shield narratives are. And I would urge you to keep that in mind. If you want to make an exercise, read a biblical text, and if you say, I know what it meant, okay, write it down. Then read it again. And say, what does it say if what I believe is wrong? Just that. What if I believe is wrong? Does the text tell me the same thing? Whatever happened will depend on your degree of it's hard to find a word that's not offensive. That's not offensive. That doesn't sound bad per se. It's your degree of interest in finding the original meaning. Finally. Right? If you go to a text and try to find the original meaning, you break all shield narratives. But it's a really difficult job, right? Demands a lot of time, demands a lot of care. So again, you might be safer just choosing something to believe in and go with that. But you should choose to like and subscribe to the video. Haha! Right? Yeah, I will leave that today. Check out the other social media. Ooh. And again, live free, believing whatever you want. What else can I say? Thank you for watching, for listening, right? And I see you all next time.